People go to movies to be distracted and entertained. That's basically the reason movies exist. Sometimes those movies are so good at doing their job that they manage to distract audiences even with glaring plot holes or lapses in logic. Not many people kicked up a fuss over some of the dumbest moments in these 2017 movies, so we're here to shed light on them. Get ready to tear a few holes in some of 2017's best flicks. Spoilers ahead. A simple message. Spider-Man: Homecoming's ferry scene was a lot of fun, but it never would have happened if not for a plot hole bigger than the hole Vulture put in that ferry. The only reason that whole sequence happened is because Tony Stark didn't think it was important enough to send a quick reply to his protege. To elaborate, let's go back to the awkward argument between Iron Man and Spidey.
Those weapons were out there and I tried to tell you about it, but you didn't listen. None of this would have happened if you would just listen to me.
I did listen, kid. Who do you think called the FBI, huh?
It's great that Stark was paying attention, but that would have been a nice thing to mention before Peter tried to stop everyone himself. Honestly, young Peter Parker wasn't acting insubordinate when he boarded that ferry. He was simply doing his heroic duty because he thought no one else was going to. All of the movie's troubles following the ferry scene, like him fighting Vulture solo in a sweatshirt instead of his high-tech suit, are a direct result of Tony's inability to respond to messages in a timely manner. A simple text to say the FBI was handling it would have saved everyone a lot of headaches. Unfortunately, the world's most notoriously irresponsible billionaire playboy just couldn't be bothered to do something that simple. Assassin incentives. Toward the final third of John Wick Chapter 2, John breaks some rules and scores a $7 million bounty on his head. Thanks to this bounty, all of the assassins in New York City pop out of the woodwork and try to take a stab at Wick. What doesn't make sense here is that in the previous movie, there was a $2 million bounty on Wick's head and not one random assassin perked up at the offer. When the offer got doubled to $4 million, only one ultra-desperate assassin tried to take on Wick, and that didn't end well. This lack of challenge stems from the fact that Wick has a reputation for being the underworld boogeyman.
John wasn't exactly the boogeyman. He was the one you sent to kill the fucking boogeyman.
Yet in John Wick 2, everyone and their grandmother gave it a shot for $7 million, boogeyman or not.
$7 million is a lot of money, Mr. Wick.
But is it enough to warrant going after the man who single-handedly dismantled the Russian mob? It just doesn't add up. Not so Secret Island. As great as Wonder Woman was, it was chock full of dumb moments. How is Steve Trevor able to infiltrate the German army without a shred of identification or the ability to speak German with a proper accent? How is Wonder Woman able to cross no man's land without any of these bullets hitting her? Moments like these were overlooked in favor of the movie's many strong points. But it doesn't change the fact that the plot was sloppy. The clearest example of this is when Themyscira is discovered by Steve Trevor, the first man to stumble upon it, even though it's clearly within arm's reach of England and uses an invisibility shield that's penetrable by literally anyone. Think about it. Diana and Steve use a sailboat to reach London from Themyscira in one night. So the Amazon's secret island has to be pretty close, even with a tug to tow them part way.
Morning. We got lucky, we caught a ride. We made some good time.
And considering Steve could randomly fly through the island's cloaking shield, as well as the Nazi boats following him, it's ludicrous to suggest that no one had stumbled upon Themyscira before that. Ape Ex Machina. For such a great movie, War for the Planet of the Apes sure stumbles when detailing how the apes managed to outmaneuver their captors at the film's climax. From within the confines of a maximum security penitentiary that has guards patrolling 24/7, dozens of apes are able to sneak away via a convenient hole in the dirt floor of their cell. Not one guard notices all the apes vanishing from the cell. And as if that weren't preposterous enough, the movie then sends all the young chimps across electrical wires right above the guards' heads. Not one guard happens to look up. None of those roving spotlights casts a monkey-shaped shadow on the ground. Even though all of this happens at night, an entire internment camp's worth of chimps aren't just going to slink away within a few hours completely unnoticed. Forgotten Blob. Toward the end of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Ego unleashes an alien tumor that starts gobbling up Earth. This blob grows to massive proportions, wreaking havoc on an entire town before it stopped. Given that the prologue took place in 1980, and the rest of the movie was set 34 years later, it's pretty safe to assume that all that blobbing happened around 2014 in the MCU's chronology. So you'd think there would be some mention of it across the bevy of other MCU movies that take place after that. But everyone just seems to have forgotten about that little town in Missouri and all the places that got wrecked by Ego's blue goo. Suspicious resurrection. At the very end of Justice League, we see that Superman has revived his Clark Kent alter ego. But isn't that kinda suspicious? A little, maybe? A lot of people saw him get buried. While returning from the grave might not be a big deal for Kal-El, humans don't really tend to do that. At least not without something getting thrown at them.
Now what? I'll have to get more stuff.
Even worse, Kent worked for the Daily Planet. None of those investigative journalist co-workers thought it was fishy that his demise and return perfectly coincided with Superman's? These policemen couldn't put it together after Lois said his name in front of everyone?
Clark.
The only explanation is that Clark Kent was revived solely so that he could tear his shirt open at the end of the film. That's a good reason, right? Missing Sif. For all the fun Thor Ragnarok provides, some things just don't make sense. Specifically, the absence of the warrior Lady Sif. Basically, Sif doesn't seem to exist anymore. After having a serious role in the first Thor movie and an appearance in Thor: The Dark World, Lady Sif is nowhere to be found during the destruction of Asgard. Even the Warriors 3 got an ending to their arcs, as anticlimactic as it was. The fact that Sif got snubbed just seems like a massive oversight. Marvel head Kevin Feige did give a vague explanation for her absence, saying, "What has Loki been doing on that throne in Guise of Odin? He would have to get rid of Heimdall because Heimdall can see everything," which is probably an answer to a question I've been asked a few times today. Sif was probably banished. She's off somewhere. Well, that could work. But Heimdall was banished and still got a story arc. Sif didn't even get attacked on death scene or a line of dialogue that addresses her absence. She's just not there. Silly humans. Kong Skull Island is a big, silly movie about a big gorilla. It's a lot of fun, but let's face it, you don't go into this kind of thing expecting a watertight plot. Still, one plot decision made absolutely no sense. Here's the scoop. A team of researchers and soldiers are tasked with infiltrating Skull Island, which is surrounded by a permanent storm.
Like the Bermuda Triangle. Or like that aluminum foil hat that I like to wear on the weekends.
To pass through this natural hazard, they bring a massive ship and then abandon it in favor of a few open-doored helicopters. Sure, they need the ship intact to get them away from the island again, but they could have gotten a lot closer on the boat rather than brave hurricane winds and a few helicopters.
How far away is this island? 50 miles, maybe more.
Take us closer.
You want to launch? You do it from here.
Gee, thanks, random boat guy. Minimum maximum security. At the outset of Ghost in the Shell, super soldier cyborg Major is created to do the bidding of a sinister corporation. When she stops following orders, the company's goons trap Major in a maximum security fortress. Well, as it turns out, the facility isn't very secure at all. All it takes for Major to bust out of there is a light scuffle with a few guards and then some off-screen action. Had the movie played by its own rules, she would have been stopped before she escaped from her deactivation bed. This whole set piece and the sequence within it is just poorly thought out.
Maybe next time you can design me better.
Thanks for watching. Click the looper icon to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Plus check out all this cool stuff we know you'll love too.